and I doubt that you will find much sympathy here for his cause.
I accept that we're not here in a popular cause. We're here as people who passionately believe in human rights, even for those who are genuine criminals. Well, in this case, it's a very difficult decision for the Israeli government. We are aware of public opinion. We're aware that he's done something that goes deeply against the grain of the opinion of most Israelis. We respect that. But having said that, when a human being is kept in solitary confinement for 8 years for doing something in accord with his own conscience, then we feel that both the terms of international justice and the terms of Jewish commitment to humanity, Jewish commitment to the prophets of Israel, means that Israeli people should be willing, yes, if it calls for sacrifice on their part, to make the sacrifice of setting this man, who has now suffered a great deal, free.
For us, he is a hero because he dared to obey the dictates of his conscience. But of course, we understand that in Israel, he is regarded as a traitor because he broke the law. But I would remind you again of the Nuremberg principles. If only some people in Hitler's Germany had broken the law, had really broken the law, and enough people had broken the law to stop Hitler and Nazism.
Can you go there? Why did you come to Israel to try to convince President Weizmann to release Mr. Vanunu from jail? Do you want to intervene in Israel's domestic politics?
We believe that Mordechai Vanunu is not a spy. He did not sell the secrets of his country to a hostile power.
How do you know?
We know this because we have it on. We know this from our information from the Sunday Times. He did not sell it. It has been categorically denied by the Sunday Times, by the editor of the Sunday Times, and all the Insight. Excuse me. Allow me to speak. By the entire Insight team, that he ever received or asked for money. He was obeying, if you like, a higher law than the law of a state, which is the law of humanity. It's the law of love thy neighbor. He believed that the production of nuclear weapons, weapons of mass destruction, which would kill whole civilians, populations, was a matter of legitimate debate in a democracy. He was not allowed to speak about this subject in his own country because the censorship was very strong. You know that. So he had to be out of the country to do so.
Monsieur, I must say that in the 25 years that have passed since we had lunch together, you haven't changed much, except perhaps some of your ideas. Don't you think that it's not very civilized to meddle in another country's affairs?
We feel that this is something that transcends states and countries. This is a subject of humanity. This is a subject of the nuclear proliferation concerns us all, regardless of barriers.
But you have in Britain, you have nuclear.
We do, and we fight against having nuclear weapons in Britain. We are against
so you must let us do with what we want to do with our nuclear weapons.
No,
it's our affair, it's our state, it's our lives.
You haven't admitted.
You will not live or die with what is happening to us.
Excuse me. Excuse me. You have not admitted publicly, officially,
I have a few atomic bombs at home.
To having nuclear weapons in this country. This has never been officially acknowledged or recognized.
It's none of your business.
But I'm sorry, I'm saying to you that I think the matter of nuclear weapons and nuclear proliferation is a matter beyond people. It is these are weapons of mass destruction which will kill whole civilian populations.
Your parents and grandparents didn't really interfere when my grandparents were killed in Auschwitz, so you just think we were defending ourselves.
Don't say this to me.
Oh yes, I'm telling you. I'm telling you because we are defending
your
ourselves.
president yesterday listened to us. He had the courtesy to listen to us. He welcomed us into the presidential palace, and he welcomed and listened to us.
Don't you need the courtesy to listen to him too?
Yes, but he's interrupting me. He must, if he asks me questions, he must wait for my answers.
But you didn't let him finish his question.
But he doesn't let me finish.
I see. So maybe you both will finish. Please. Please. If you want to finish your answer, please.
I think, I'm waiting for now a question.
My question, I want you to understand something. Most people here are survivors of the Holocaust.
I understand that.
We don't trust your goodwill or anybody's goodwill to defend ourselves. We have to defend ourselves at the best of our abilities, and you have no moral rights. European Christians have no moral rights to interfere with our faith because you let us down once.
על רקע השיחה הזאת שנמשכת בין תומי לבינם, אנחנו מגיעים לסיום תוכנית פופוליניקה. תודה לכם, thank you, ואנחנו ניפגש בעוד שבוע בפופוליניקה. You can continue to talk to him.
Sure. I'm sorry.
Perhaps I can say to the audience, the program may have finished, but I'll say to you, perhaps if more people in my country, in Britain, had protested 60 years ago about what was happening to the Jewish people in Germany, then the Holocaust might not have happened. And that is why I respect Mordechai Vanunu, and that is why we say he's not a spy. We come to plead for clemency.
He's not even a spy, he sold his story for good money.
He did not sell his story, that is a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie for which you have no evidence.
בטח שזה לא. הוא לא הסכים לקבל.
בטח שזה לא. היה פה מתווך כל המילה.
אם הוא היה פוגש לבת כסף הזמן.
We're in Jerusalem at the home of Gideon Spiro, and he's been very active over the years in the Mordechai Vanunu campaign, and here he comes, and we're going to get to ask him a few questions, I hope. Okay. Gideon, we've known each other some time.
Yeah.
And I think all that time, almost all that time, you've been active on social and political issues. And I think you've probably been active on the Vanunu campaign pretty much from the beginning, but let's cut right to the end. Why should Americans give a damn? Who the hell is Mordechai Vanunu, and why should Americans care?
For two reasons. First of all, because America pretend to guard the humanitarian and civil humanitarian issues and human rights issues. That's how America intervened, for instance, because of the violation of human rights of Soviet Jewry. As far as I remember, America was very active on it. So one of the arguments was, both by Israel and by the United States officials, that human rights issues, or violation of human rights, is a concern for every human being who cares for freedom and for civil liberties. That's why they intervene in the violation of the Soviet Jewry.
But Israel says this is one man, and he's a spy.
Just a moment. Can you stop it?
This is one man. The Israelis say he's a spy. They put him in prison. They tried him. We have Pollard in America. The
Look,
Russians
there was
have
one man by the name of Sharansky. He was imprisoned by the Soviet Union as an American spy. He denied it. He said he was a civil liberties activist.
True.
That he was a member of the same group as Andrei Sakharov. That's how he presented himself. Then,
Plus, there was Andrei Sakharov.
okay, that's
Yes.
a moment. That's a moment. And the whole world intervened on behalf of this one man until he was released in an exchange, a spy exchange. Okay. So now Israel is intervening on behalf of another spy. His name is Jonathan Pollard. American jury is now raising its voice too. The American lobby, the Jewish lobby, recently joined the Israeli government in pressing President Clinton pardoning Jonathan Pollard for on humanitarian ground. One man. That's all. One man. So you see that on behalf of one man, sometimes there are international campaigns.
But you accept
Mandela was one man.
Yes, but
Okay. So
Pollard is a spy who
So
said
just a
that-
moment. So I know what Israel is saying. I'm trying to counter now the Israeli argument. What I'm saying is Vanunu, in my view, is in the same category of Mandela. He did act on behalf of the human race. The fact that Israel...
What good did he do?
Tell you what he did. He broke the Israeli wall of secrets and lies, combination of both, on the nuclear issue. Now, if you believe that the nuclear issue is not a national one, but it concerns the human race generally beyond national borders, then what he did was in the interest of the human race, because nuclear weapons are deadly dangerous.
Was he an Israeli
And,
citizen when he did it?
Of course,
He was, even though he was out of the country.
of course.
Right. But he was taken back by force.
He was not taken away, he was kidnapped. Now, but you are jumping. We're jumping.
I'm jumping because it's television and because we don't have too much
So
time.
you cut it later. You may have to edit
Yeah.
it. But I have to speak according to the sequence of events. That's very important, because otherwise people will never understand the case of Vanunu.
But
And
the
you
facts
have to
are...
understand one thing. Israel, you have to understand two things about the nuclear issue. First, that the nuclear issue transcends, as Susan York said just in the movie you saw, national boundaries. The dangers are beyond national boundaries. So if you could see it in the Chernobyl disaster, it was not only the Soviet Union who suffered, it was the whole Europe around the Soviet Union who suffered. Now when we have, when the NPT was established, it was established under the idea that only combined international efforts will prevent a disaster which will bring the whole human race to the doomsday. Now, Israel stepped out of the international community, developed nuclear weapons on its own while officially denying it, and the dangers of Israeli nuclear weapons are on local ground, internal Israeli issues, like ecological ones, for instance, and international ones, because we are as capable of doing either crimes or mistakes or mishandling of nuclear weapons as it is feared will be the case in case, for instance, Iran or other countries will have it. We have our share of fanatics, we have our share of people who are irresponsible, and we never know if these people will not have their finger on the nuclear trigger.
You don't think Israel should have nuclear weapons?
So I think that Israel should not have nuclear weapons. And the nuclear weapons in Israel is a permanent the word which I forgot now, but I need now a word which escape.
But anyway, Israel started
But
nuclear
no. Not only that Israel started the nuclear race in the Middle East, but we are pushing the whole area into a nuclear race. It is we who started the race, and without bringing Israel into line with the international community, this race won't stop. So, if you don't want Iran to have, if you don't want Iraq to have, you cannot allow Israel to have it. And the United States policy here is double standard. What Vanunu did, he was acting according to moral principles which are beyond the local laws. I agree. He broke the Israeli law, but he broke the Israeli law justly so. You can compare Vanunu to a driver who is carrying a wounded person and is rushing to the hospital and is crossing the red light, traffic red light. He violated the law, that's correct, but no judge will punish him seriously.
If that's the comparison, why do you then compare him to Pollard?
No, I don't compare him to Pollard. There is no comparison. Pollard was a spy, bona fide. He was selling secret information to another intelligence agency. He was a spy as we know it from the classical stories.
But in the States you say Israel will get Pollard and Vanunu will be freed.
What I say is different. I say you cannot compare Pollard with Vanunu on their actions. But this, and the fact is that Pollard did not get any peace prize by no organization, and Vanunu received already 3 or 4 peace prizes, including the alternative Nobel Peace Prize, and he is every year again nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, including the last year when Rabin and Peres received it. He was on the list of nominees. So the deeds are completely different. I compare what he did, by the way, with Ellsberg, Daniel Ellsberg. That's a proper comparison. Israel, of course, violated all international laws once. Israel was acting in the case of Vanunu like a terror organization, like the Hezbollah, kidnapping, Vanunu from Italy. All this is a terror, it's state terrorism. But regardless of what I think about his deeds, Israel thought that Vanunu was a spy, as well as America thought that Pollard was a spy. And now Israel is coming to the United States and says to the United States, listen, okay, he did something wrong. He did something wrong. He violated your law, but show compassion. Show, please, forgiveness. Pardon him on humanitarian ground. And these arguments we are trying to use for Vanunu, regardless of the judgment of his deeds, whether he's right or wrong. He was sitting now for 10 years in solitary confinement. We say to Israel, show the same humanitarian consideration you are asking from President Clinton.
And when you met
when I say to President Clinton, listen, sir, you are committed against nuclear weapons. You you broke your own country laws during the Vietnam War, justly so, yes, in a way, because you thought your government did something wrong. And the same did Vanunu. And we are asking you to show understanding and to show consideration for his plight. And please make a linkage. Tell Israel we are ready to pardon Pollard, but you, Israel, show the same humanitarian consideration.
Very reasonable if politics in America were based on justice and human rights. But we both know, who we kidding, and we won't kid the TV audience, when it comes to matters relating to Israel and the Middle East, Bill Clinton does what the Jewish-Israeli lobby tells him to do. He has done nothing else since he's been president, and he will do nothing else. So
I don't know. You see, the counter to you, you have already stated here that you know what he will do in the future.
Well, we certainly know what he's done in the past, don't we?
Okay, but I don't know what he will do in the future.
But you haven't met with Bill Clinton. You have met with Ezra Weitzman.
I have met with Ezra Weitzman, and I have met also with George McGovern in the United States.
Well, I'm not so sure George McGovern counts, but let's talk about Ezra Weitzman. He's the president of Israel. What does he say?
Ezra Weitzman says more or less, repeats more or less Israeli official arguments, that he broke the law, And since he broke the law, it is due to our justice system to deal with it, and that's what was the case. The justice system was saying its word, and we have to respect it.
Why do they keep him in total solitary confinement if that is what they...
That's part of, look, officially they say because he knows secrets. And we think it is rubbish.
He gave away all the secrets. That's 17 years ago, yeah?
Yes. He gave away all the secrets, and everything else was published
right.
All around the world. And we think it is just vendetta.
Vindictive or vendetta?
Vendetta.
Yeah,
pure vendetta. The Israeli government want to, as a matter of fact, to outbalance him mentally, and then to hospitalize him in a mental institution for the rest of his life. This is the Israeli...
They do this to thousands and thousands
of
Palestinians all the time.
The Soviets... What?
They do this to Palestinians all the time.
Not in such a persistent way. I don't know any Palestinians who was in solitary confinement for 10 years.
I know many who have been beaten and tortured to death.
That's a different story. Yeah. That's a torture, physical torture, which were well known in it. There are so many reports. But what they did with Vanunu is a different kind of torture. You know, it is a continuous mental torture.
Now that I've asked provocative questions...
And as Amnesty said it, it is cruel, inhuman, and degrading what they are doing to you.
I think you're absolutely right. Not only does Vanunu deserve to be pardoned, but the Israelis, as you suggested, were gangsters in the way they kidnapped him from England and then from Rome. I think
from England, England was more sophisticated.
Yes, but in the end, they dropped him in Italy and
Rome
brought him to Israel.
Yes, with force, with drugs. They were.
But let's cut to the chase. Let's be realistic. This is Mideast realities. Bill Clinton is a politician. Bill Clinton wants to be elected again President of the United States. Bill Clinton is the most pro-Israeli president there has ever been.
And I don't know. I'm not sure that he is the most pro-Israeli president, but I'm not sure that he is most...
Who is the competition?
Oh, I think that Reagan was very pro-Israeli, and I don't know...
What president before put a Jewish lobby official in the National Security Council and a former Israeli captain next to him in the White House as political official?
Who is?
Raham Emanuel. What pro-Israeli president ever had the head of the Jewish lobby heard on a clandestine recording saying that we, the Jews, have our hooks into Bill Clinton, and when he's president, he's going to do everything we tell him to do? I mean, all this is public.
Okay, but I'm not so...
he's awfully pro-Israeli, let's leave it that way. But so far, you place your emphasis on moral principle, nuclear proliferation.
I think that...
What pressure can you really bring to bear?
I think that there is no... Look, we are too weak, unfortunately, to use any other argument but moral argument. Of course, if President Clinton will suddenly see a flood of voices in the United States telling him, sir, we are not going to vote for you if you're not going to pardon President Vanunu, and he will see that this might cost him as well in the coming election, I think he might change. So what we need is more and more people in the United States carrying our voice around.
I think what you need instead of...
and we would like not to have only the cable TV in Washington, we would like to have, of course, the CNN and the NBC.
You took the words out of my mouth. You need not Mideast realities here, you need public broadcasting, CBS, NBC here. On the other hand, I'm willing to come here. I don't think they are.
Look, the BBC...